I had this idea yesterday. I had this idea about how the college football landscape in Texas has changed this year.
It's been weird.
It has been weird.
Year.
Whereas most years there is one, maybe two teams that stand out above the rest.
Right.
And then there's one, maybe two teams that are just real bad.
Right.
And then there's a big middle.
Sure.
What we call the big middle.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of middling, mediocre teams hanging between about 7-5 and 4-8 and stuff like that. This year, it seems like somebody has put magnets on either end of the spectrum because there is no big middle. Right now, who are the truly average teams in the state? I would say Tech.
Yep.
Do you want to lump Texas in there? I would even say they're not very good. You know?
Yeah. I mean, well, compared to these other teams that we're about to talk about, they look okay.
But I think the biggest difference this year has been that there are not a lot. There are more great teams. Houston, Baylor, TCU. I would even lump A&M in there. At times, they've looked great. Yes, I think at times they've looked great.
Well, that's generous of you.
That's
very nice.
I think at least above average.
Aggies, send your love letters to Greg Tepper, care of Dave Campbell's Texas Football Magazine.
They will never do that. But I think the difference this year is that the bottom has been it's really bottom heavy.
It's really ugly.
There's a lot of teams that are legit not good.
Yeah.
That at times in the past years have been really good. We'll start with UTSA. Okay. We're going to kind of break down why they are this way, right?
I think you mean UTEP.
Do I mean UTEP?
Did I write it wrong on the prep sheet?
Yep.
Well, that's on me.
You wrote UTSA twice.
That'll do it. Those UTs.
We'll start with UTEP.
All right.
So the reason that UTEP has struggled, I think, is pretty clear. They lost Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
And Aaron Jones dictates their entire...
They had a plan A, B, and C, and they were all Aaron Jones.
And it's not just the offense.
No.
Because the whole point was we're going to give the ball to Aaron Jones. He's going to run.
Yeah.
And he's going to He's going to, one, gain a lot of yards that way.
Yep.
And two, he's going to eat clock and keep our pretty bad defense off the field. This year, that has not happened, and they've been exposed defensively. They do not force turnovers. They are just generally not very good against the pass. Mm-hmm. Against the run, they're fine. They're okay, but they're not very good against the pass. Do you know that they are second to last in the nation in yards per pass attempt or yards per pass completion?
I didn't know it was that bad.
Pretty bad.
Wow.
So that's the biggest. I think that you can look at Aaron Jones and say when he went down, that really tanked their season.
Yeah, no big surprise there.
I think maybe the most disappointing team
by far for me.
For you,
yeah,
the most disappointing team in the state is Rice.
Rice, what the hell?
I don't know. And it's kind of the same thing. I think the offense has been okay.
These are players that I really like. Dreyvis Jackson is an awesome quarterback.
And the
thing
thing
is, the season's very excited about what he was going to do.
I think their offense has been fine overall.
It's been
average.
More.
The problem's been defense, and they are legitimately, so you know how I said that UTEP was the second worst team in yards per pass completion allowed?
Yeah.
Guess who's the worst? Rice cannot. They don't.
And we saw it early in the season that the pass defense was going to be an issue, and it has not gotten better.
Their rushing defense is bad, but it won't kill you.
Yeah.
Their passing defense is miserable. It's really bad, and that's been the problem. They're giving up 38.9 points a game, and most of it's through the air. And the thing is, they're not coming up with those impact plays.
No.
They're not coming up with the sacks. They're not coming up with the turnovers. I think they miss Christian Covington a lot in the middle of that defense.
No question there.
I think that for Rice, it all goes back to the fact that they can't make the big play defensively.
Right.
And that's been really disappointing this year. I think that's why UTEP, 65-10 to Southern Miss. But you think about it, in hindsight, we should have seen that coming. Because Southern Miss can throw the ball all over the yard.
Yeah.
As soon as they got going on that, it was over.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Texas State. Texas State has been a weird team that we've just been waiting and waiting and waiting.
Well, and here's the thing: when we sat down and talked at the beginning of the season about teams that potentially could go on a big run of this middle group, the small school teams that could actually make a surprising run, Texas State is what we decided.
So this is a team
And here we are.
that we never thought the defense was going to be great. And it hasn't been. It's been bad. It's been bad against the pass.
Yeah.
It's been bad against the run. It's been bad against everything. But the difference has been we thought that the offense was going to be good enough to carry them.
I thought the offense was going to be great, and it
just hasn't been. It's just been it's been below average. And I'll tell you that they do not they run the ball pretty well with Robert Lowe, but Tyler Jones just has not thrown the ball efficiently. And that's been the biggest problem for them. He has not been efficient with the ball. Yeah. They also are terrible on third downs.
Yeah.
They're 92nd in the nation in third down conversion rate. That is going to kill you every time. Yeah. And they just have not thrown the ball well.
I'd love to see drop statistics on them, too. I feel like I've watched a couple, and they've dropped a ton of balls.
I know. They've really had a million drops.
Yeah.
Let's move on. UTSA. We were going to talk about them in a second, but UTSA, to me, they are a big mystery. Their defense has not been great, but it hasn't been terrible.
Right.
But they have had no passing game, and the running game just hasn't been good enough to make up for it. You can get away with not being able to throw the ball. Look at Navy.
Yeah.
Okay? Look at Navy. It's
a special case, though.
Right. You can get away with not being able to throw the ball. You cannot get away with not being able to throw the ball and just being meh running the ball.
Right.
And that's been the biggest problem. Jarvion Williams has been fine, but the offensive line has not held up its end of the bargain. No. And the offense just has sputtered as a result.
Well, and Bogenschutz getting hurt early on created a lot more chaos for him than I think they were ready for.
They just they're 100th in the nation in scoring offense.
It's not good.
It's not good. And it comes down to the fact that they have not been able to throw the ball, and they put themselves in position where they have to. They find themselves in a lot of passing downs because they can't run the ball on first and second down.
Yeah, I will say I feel like of this group with the records, the team that suffered the most heartbreak out of this group this year, UTSA. They've had a few close losses, games they could have stolen, and it just didn't happen. And with a little bit of luck, maybe they're not looking as bad as we think they look right now. But at the same time, that might also just be covering up how bad they actually are. So
I can buy that. North Texas.
Oh boy.
Well, North Texas is pretty bad at everything.
Yeah.
They're just not very good at much.
Is there a silver lining or hey, look at that at least?
Yeah, there is.
Oh, there is for you.
It's Jeffrey Wilson.
Well, okay, yeah.
I think that he has come along in past weeks and has been solid and a guy that you can build around. Mm-hmm. But the defense has been just miserable. Yeah. They're giving – let's put it this way. They're 125th in scoring defense, giving up 43 points a game.
Okay.
They're 124th in scoring offense, scoring just 15.8 points a game. This is just not a team that has the horses right now. And what's the problem? I think it goes back to the fact that they just did not do a good job recruiting.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question there. We talked to Mike Craven about that, especially because he's, with UTSA beat on Rivals, he's always kind of on the pulse of recruiting at that level, those size schools. And it's no secret for a couple years now that recruiting's been an issue there. And my stance has always been, no offense to McNulty at all, but as someone from Iowa, if you're not wanted by the two teams in Iowa, you've no business being the quarterback down here, unless you're just a diamond in the rough. But the odds aren't in your favor. If you're North Texas, you need to be recruiting Texas to that position.
To me, it comes down to the fact that they just have not done a good job recruiting in the past couple of years. They've tried to shore up holes with junior college guys.
Yeah.
And those chickens are coming home to roost right now. That's been the biggest problem for North Texas. And then there's SMU. And SMU is a bit of a special case because we knew they were going to be bad.
Right.
It's not
entirely fair to put them in this list, but it'd be weird not to address their situation.
Our season preview for SMU was like, hey, Chad Morris is going to get this team going at some point, but it ain't this year.
Right.
And the biggest here's the good news for them is that the offense, I think, has been fine.
Yeah.
Matt Davis, I think, still has some
fun. There have been some stretches where they have been really fun to watch.
I think that Matt Davis still has some maturation to do.
Sure.
But, so you remember how I said that Rice was worst in yards per pass completion?
Well, you're just topping. Here we go.
They were worst. UTEP was second to worst.
Yeah.
Guess who's third to worst?
Yes, yeah.
It's SMU. Yeah. They're really bad against the deep ball.
Yeah.
The safeties and the corners just cannot compete in the American Athletic right now. And their pass defense has just been really bad, and they are not getting to the quarterback. They're 106th in sacks. And so if you're a quarterback and you have time to sit back there, yeah, you're going to go deep because your guy's going to get away from his defender.
Right.
But, again, they're a special case because we knew they were going to be bad. This is a full teardown and a full rebuild.
Yeah.
So they get a bit of a pass, but I think that it's just been frustrating for us as the only two people in the state who cover all 12 FBS teams. It's been frustrating for us because we like watching good football. And basically this year, unless you've been watching Baylor or TCU or Houston and occasionally A&M, you have not watched consistently good football.
No.
And this isn't to excuse Tech and Texas, who at times have just... That's not to excuse them. But I think that they represent what is now the small middle.
Yeah.
You've got 4 teams who I think have clearly separated themselves from the others.
Yeah.
You've got 2 teams that are, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I think Tech is better than Texas, but
I mean, this is the key here is these are a lot of Texas teams losing to teams without the state that they have to recruit.
Yeah.
You know, and that's so many teams failing on this level.
Do you know what that
really
is?
shocking.
I mean, that's inexcusable is what it is. It's been disappointing for us to cover these teams.
Yeah. So. But I feel worse for their fans.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are not the ones that should be complaining.
I know.
But I feel worse for their fans.